Catus, Maximus here, this time with a review of the Tekton 1545 inch drive cheapo ratchet. This is one of the tools that I'm not sure if Tekton's even selling. It's a little hard to find online. Probably because they weren't selling very many of them. It is an inch drive ratchet, and not a lot of people buy inch drive ratchets. This is also an earlier Tekton tool. You know, they just put a sticker on it. A little bit later, they actually started having manufacturers stamp Tekton. But unfortunately, this one, if the sticker wears out, you just don't really have any idea. Any idea who made it. So it is an inch drive ratchet. I believe it's somewhere in the range of about 40 or 50 tooth. And I only paid 65 bucks for this years ago, many years ago, and was one of the earlier of the Tekton tools. Now we can see if I don't know how well we can really get a good perspective on this, but the beam is a little bit warped, but it's not too bad. It is a 24-inch handle ratchet. Many places online are saying 25 and 26 inches, and it's just terrible. They just are mismeasuring the tools. They're just measuring from the head to the tip of the handle, where on ratchets it's measured from the center line of the anvil to the end of the handle. In this case, it's 24 inches, such as this new Britain here, which I reviewed recently, 18 inches. This is a 3/4 inch drive ratchet. Now there is some pretty big differences between a better ratchet and then this cheaper Chinese one. And this is just an example. We can see that the head on this 3/4 inch drive New Britain is almost the same size as it is, diameter wise, as it is on the Tekton. And here we can see that the New Britain is quite a bit thicker. We can just see how thick the steel is up here where it's at the high stress point, even compared to this larger, longer handle inch drive ratchet. So it's definitely a cheaper Chinese tool. I did tear this one apart recently, and it has a huge inch wide by half-inch 9-tooth pawl in it. Very heavy duty. This one is just like an oversized version of the cheap Chinese ratchets. Unfortunately, inch drive ratchets are very expensive. They're hundreds of dollars from professional brands. Literally, Snap-on, you can spend $300 to $500 on a single ratchet. That's an inch drive, so that's obviously one of the reasons I did buy the cheaper Tekton. Second thing is I'm not trying to break any fasteners that are of this size with a ratchet. You know, I use T-handles, torque multipliers, that type of thing. Often, you don't need them very often, but it's surprising. If you ever do help anybody or do any work on, say, earth-moving equipment, farm equipment, sometimes those fasteners get really stuck, even if they're not particularly large, say maybe a 1 5/16. On some pieces of equipment, you need 500 foot-pounds of torque, 800 foot-pounds of torque, just to break the fastener. And so that's where inch drive really comes into play, because it really is super duty. It's rated for a standard of 2,000 foot-pounds of torque. So you break the fasteners, and then really the ratchet is just what ratchets are for, to unthread the fasteners. It does only have one ball detent, where the New Britain does have 2 ball detents, and it is kind of soft, but it's enough to generally hold the sockets on. I've already lubricated this one a long time ago, but I'll quickly take it apart so people can see what's inside. Otherwise, you know, it works okay. They have this kind of weird collar system, so at least this out of all the issues that Chinese ratchets do have, this one does not have the self-reversing, because this collar prevents the body, the handle, from rubbing against the reverse knob, so you don't have that issue where you're putting side stress on it and actually having it switch directions on you. So overall, it's okay, particularly if you're just trying to unthread some fasteners once you've already got them broken. And obviously it's much more compact to use a ratchet in a socket like this rather than a 3/4 inch ratchet, an increaser, and then the socket just to unthread. That's really one of the big deals, and why I got this. And occasionally, if you are like an axle nut or something, and if you're replacing an axle on a Honda, then sure, this 2-foot long inch drive ratchet, you can just break those axle nuts with the ratchet. But there have been some comments online, people actually failing this ratchet, particularly causing the head to actually split open, or 2, just having the ratchet pawl slip and start to grind out the teeth. And because the head is a bit loose, all round heads have a little bit more play. This one's okay. There were a few on the shelf, I remember when I was buying this, and this was actually one of the best ones. And like I said, it's worked out okay with me. Hopefully Tecton will still warranty these, but unfortunately, since they don't have Tecton's name stamped on them, you may have a little bit of trouble if you don't have the receipt or the sticker still not on it. I guess one thing I can comment, if we take a closer look, is the knurling did happen to come out pretty nicely on this tool. If we can get the camera to focus on it properly, and let me zoom in just a little bit here. There we go. Now you can see more clearly. Really surprising. This must have been made on a Wednesday as far as the knurling, but it has nearly perfect little diamond pattern. So that was at least one nice thing, to have a good solid grip. So as far as a cheap ratchet, it's okay, especially for the $65. But don't expect anything special, and I wouldn't actually use this ratchet to attempt to break inch drive fasteners. You'll probably fail it. Because it's made really is for unthreading fasteners. So let me go ahead and open up the head so you can see. All right, quickly popped open the head, and we can see that it's basically a standard head. We just have a reverse switch that just sends the rocking dog one way or the other. It does have 5 teeth, so it's really, it's not the worst, but it certainly isn't the best. And so really the crux of the issue, at least on this one, and I'm going to try to find a snap ring or something to maybe make it a little bit tighter, is when this rocks back and forth in the head, then the teeth aren't engaging across their entire surface. They're gauging on one side or the other, and then that's where you start having issues with it slipping. And once the ratchets start to slip, they start to round the tops of the teeth off, particularly in the ratchet. At least on a round head, at least in the ratchet body itself, because that steel is not quite as hard as the ratchet pawl itself is. And then it's kind of a downward cycle from there. So I'm going to try to tighten this up, but you just want to be aware that you don't want to have like a bunch of sideways force on the ratchet, trying to keep it as straight as possible, at least if you're under high torque situations. So just wanted to show the inside of this ratchet. I mean, it's okay. For $65, you're getting what you expect. It definitely works. You're just not going to use it on a, heavy mining equipment to break fasteners, although it'll probably work just for normally unthreading and then cinching them up. So anyway, there you have it. Here's the big Tecton. Once again, I think it's reasonable for the price, to tell you the truth. It's just you have to set your expectations properly. Excuse me, especially when it comes to these larger tools. Buying an inch drive by 24-inch handle ratchet for new for $60 or $65 is a really cheap price. And so really, I think Tecton did okay for the price. This thing works great in a pinch. And for certain, people like me who don't use inch drive that often, but use it enough to where they'd like to actually have a ratchet and not have to use adapters with 3/4 inch drive, it's pretty good. But if you need something that's, that you need to be able to break fasteners, or that really is super industrial duty, you're going to have to find a used professional grade ratchet. Anyway, I really appreciate everybody watching and subscribing. I hope you all are staying healthy and safe. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. Until next time, Catus Maximus out.